2019 on Zingo TV on Chromecast and all smart TVs 2016 forward. Please remember to download the BarnBurner and Zingo TV apps in their respective app stores. Both are free on both iOS and Android devices. Wow, what a week last week was with the 2020 NHL draft. A lot went on, a lot of top players got picked. It was what I would call a really special day for a lot of the players who were taken, for the league to show that they are, a substantial part of the growing success of, of the NHL and the future of hockey. And it was really incredible. And I couldn't have pictured, as wonderful a job as they did, given that the whole event was done virtually. All teams had their own scouting departments in the locker rooms of the respective arenas, and they did a wonderful job. The staff were excellent. I couldn't have, pegged a better way to do this in the uncertain times that we are in of COVID-19. So first off, a huge congratulations and a huge thank you as well to everyone who made this event possible. It was incredible, and certainly a day that, for the media and for everyone who took part, I don't think we're going to, ever forget. So, it was really something to behold and really, really special event. But here's to hoping next year we are at the Bell Center in Montreal, as we should have been rightfully for this event. So, I think that says enough. And, now we're going to get into it because, wow, did a lot happen. There were so many moves from top to bottom. But I think before we even start there, let's do the housekeeping notes first to keep things nice and simple. So as I usually do with housekeeping notes, I'll just kind of go through the recent going-ons within the Ontario Hockey League. And so we start with the Toronto Marlies of the American Hockey League, where defenseman Riley McCourt has signed a 2-year AHL contract following his junior career with the Flint Firebirds. So McCourt, 20 years old, played in 63 games with the Firebirds this past season, recording a career-high 62 points, which he did with 18 goals and 44 assists. Now, this was ranked 5th overall amongst OHL defensemen. So from St. Catharines, Ontario, he managed to split his OHL career between Flint and the Hamilton Bulldogs. So in doing so, he appeared in 175 games over 4 seasons in the OHL, and he registered 30 goals and also added 87 assists. So the Toronto Marlies are the primary development program for the Toronto Maple Leafs, for anyone unfamiliar. And so at the end of the year, the Toronto Maple Leafs roster featured 10 players who were developed with the Marlies, which means that McCourt, once he gets in his groove, might have a chance to get a call up from the organization. So let's take a look at some of those names. You see Travis Dermott, Pierre Engvall, Justin Hall, Zach Hyman, Andreas Janssen, Martin Marincin, William Nylander, Morgan Riley, Cal Rosen, and Rasmus Sandin. So a lot of top names there, and McCourt just joins the organization. So with that being said, let's see what the Marlies have to say about him as everything just starts to load. That being said, there is no statement from the organization. So let's move on. The OHL mourns the loss of Michael Kokovec, who was a scout for the Windsor Spitfires. He passed away on Sunday at the age of 68. My condolences, and on behalf of the Puck Authority and those at BarnBurner on the loss. He was a longtime Windsor resident and employee at Ford Motor Co. For a span of 29 years. Michael passed peacefully, holding the hand of Lubika, his wife, of 41 years. Kokovec scouted for the Spitfires under former GM Warren Reichel, who reflected on what Kokovec brought to the organization. So in a statement, he says, Mike was always a pleasure to see at the rink. He was instrumental in securing his fellow countryman Richard Panik, who we drafted 10th overall in the 2009 CHL import draft. As noted by the Ontario Hockey League, Michael enjoyed traveling back to his native Slovakia to spend time with his extended family. More than anything, he loved talking hockey as he scouted for the Spitfires from 2006 to 2019. So again, the OHL, alongside myself, send our condolences on the loss. It's a horrible thing that this life happens, and at least it wasn't from COVID-19, or at least it hasn't been cited. So as he is said to have passed peacefully. So those are the housekeeping notes. And so with that being said, let's get into this year's NHL draft. So, we saw a lot of top names. We know that there was a lot of discussion about some of the tops being Cole Perfetti, Jamie Drysdale, just name a few after Quinton Byfield, who is second overall. Quinton Byfield played for the Sudbury Wolves. And now the question is, where does he start next season? So there's speculation he starts in the American Hockey League, which we'll have to wait to see. This is an uncertain time. It's unlikely he joins the Sudbury Wolves again, but wherever he's off to, obviously the best of luck. So that said, let's take a look. And since this is OHL, and the OHL is part of the CHL, I am going to touch on some players who aren't just in the OHL. So in doing so, I look at Alexis Lafreniere out of Saint Eustache, Quebec, who was first overall by the New York Rangers. Lafreniere, 18, spent the 2019 season with the QMJHL's Rimouski Oceanic. So anyways, that being said, as I was talking about Alexis Lafreniere, let's just continue now on the player that he is. So just for anyone who may have missed that, as it seems to have just briefly dropped a connection, like I said, this seems to have been New York's first #1 pick in the NHL draft since selecting Andre Veilleux back in 1965. So with the second overall selection in the 2020 NHL draft, the Los Angeles Kings select centerman Quinton Byfield out of Newmarket, Ontario. So again, Byfield at 18 years old spent the 2019-20 season with the OHL Sudbury Wolves. So as a result of that, I'm just going to quickly pull up his statistics. And, this was a player who by all means deserved the second overall pick. And I don't think there's anyone who could fight with me there. So as I look for his stats really quickly, give me just a second, and we're going to talk a little bit about why he's landed where he's landed. So 1 second here. Okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to pull up Quinton Byfield's stats in a separate browser. That being said, let's continue on. He was the highest drafted Black player, which is also something else, just while I continue to grab his stat sheet, which I think, given that part of COVID-19 has been a stance for, Black Lives Matter and those who have been wrongfully treated, wrongfully spoken to. I think that goes obviously a long way. So in NHL history, he stands at the top of that category. And so, that itself is extremely important. So, just something that I wanted to touch on while, we continue to go through all of this. So as such, let's talk about Quinton Byfield now and his stats, which again are a crucial part of everything to kind of get you guys familiar, because yes, he has a hard shot. Yes, he has smooth hands, but what has he done with those? And that's, a lot of questions I've been hearing have kind of revolved around, okay, so are the talents that he has as a player, are they showing via his numbers? And the answer to that is yes. So let's talk about his 2018-19 season, his first year with the Sudbury Wolves. So he played in the OJHL, and when he came to the OHL from the OJHL, he played 64 games in his first year, where he scored 29 goals and 32 assists, and that made for 61 points. So for anyone doubting, there is no doubt here. Just saying. So that not, and I'm not saying that there was doubt, because there wasn't. in terms of his offensive abilities. That's one of the biggest things that has been spoken about. There's no question that, this was a decision made for a reason, obviously, again, due to numbers like that. So, whereas he did 29 goals of damage in his first year at the Wolves, 2019-20, just this past season, he played 45 games where he scored 32 goals and 50 assists, which made for 82 points. So, I think that tells you that this is a player who did not back down, would not back down. And, it showed. It's every step of the way has shown that this is a player deserving of the second overall pick. So, this is a monumental time for the Los Angeles Kings, who now add to an incredible farm system where they have Jacob Ingham, they have Alex Turcotte, they have Akil Thomas from last year's draft. Aiden Dudas from the Owen Sound Attack. This is just another showing of one of the strongest farm systems, if not the strongest, in the entirety of the Ontario Hockey League. So that being said, let's move right along because we have so much more to touch on. So as such, we're going to continue to scroll through, and that's where we find Jamie Drysdale. And Jamie Drysdale was the 6th overall selection in the 2020 NHL draft. He joins the Anaheim Ducks from the Erie Otters. And again, he's also 18 years old. So that as such, let's take a look at Jamie Drysdale's numbers now. So give me just a second to pull those up. Jamie Drysdale is one of the top talents. He played at the 2019 CIBC Canada Rush Series, which took place at the Auditorium in Kitchener, Ontario. That being said, here are his numbers as he moved from the OJHL to the OHL. He played in 63 games where he scored 7 goals and 33 assists, which made for a total of 40 points. That's his first year in the Ontario Hockey League, major junior hockey, from another level of junior, not as high up, in terms of leveling. So that being said, he saw massive success after he played one game in the OJHL with the St. Michael's Buzzers and did nothing. So, take that for what you will, but I think that says a lot. Anyways, he then played for Canada's national team, Canada Black U17, where he was captain. And then he also played for the Canada U18 team as well. And while he didn't really do much there either, he had 4 assists and 2 assists respectively for 4 and 2 points. Anyways, this was through 5 and 7 games respectively. His national team number is not so fantastic, but that's not what matters. When you're playing a full season, those are what matters. So, and that's where we find his 2019-20 numbers. So he played 49 games in 2019-20, scoring 9 goals and 38 assists, which made for a total of 47 points. So the Anaheim Ducks are going to get, someone who can score. To what degree will continue to be seen, because he is, a true skater. And yes, his numbers aren't skyrocketing such as Byfield, but that doesn't mean we doubt him in any way, shape, or form. So anyways, Jack Quinn was next in the NHL draft. He was selected 8th overall by the Buffalo Sabres and is a right winger from Corydon, Ontario. He spent 1920 with the Ottawa 67s of the Ontario Hockey League. So let's take a look at his numbers now. He split the end of 2017-18 between the Canada Lasers and the Ottawa 67s. He played 8 games to finish the year with Ottawa for 1 assist and 1 point. Now, in his second year in 2018-19, this is where his numbers really start to shoot up. So he played 61 games, scoring 12 goals and 20 assists, which made for 32 points. Now, if you look at 2019-20, he played 1 more game at 62, and his numbers, huge, tremendous shoot up, where he scored 52 goals and 37 assists, which made for 89 points. Now, if you look at his penalty minutes, this is where things get interesting. In 2018-19, he had 23, and in 2019-20, he had 32. So he's someone who will find himself in the box occasionally, and doing so enough. So someone who can be scrappy and someone who is offensively talented, beyond belief. But for the Ontario Hockey League, that's not a surprise. So, I think that says enough there. And with that said, we're going to continue to move right along. That being said, we now look at Marco Rossi, who is the 9th overall selection in the 2020 NHL draft. He was selected by the Minnesota Wild, and he is a native of Feldkirch, Austria. Anyways, at 19 years old, he spent the 2019-20 season alongside Quinn with the Ottawa 67s in the OHL. So let's take a look at Marco Rossi. Give me just a second to pull these up. Marco Rossi has seen a lot of national team times back since 2011, which tells you he's been playing, to a pro degree level of hockey for quite a while, and just joined junior hockey in 2018. So I think we're going to touch on first is the fact that given he's in the national team for such a long period of time, he's getting a lot of pro standard tips, which is something he can obviously attribute to where he is now as he gets set to join the Minnesota Wild. If you look at 2017-18 or the end of 2016-17, he's with Austria's U18 team, Austria's U20 team, before joining Major Junior. Anyways, so his numbers have really impressed, to say the very least. In 2018-19, he played 53 games, and in doing so, scored 29 goals and 36 assists, and that made for 65 points. Now, if you look at 2019-20, he played 56 games, adding 3 more, and in doing so, he added another 10 goals at 39, along with 81 assists, and that made for 120 points. Yes, that's right, 120 points. So a prolific scorer by all means, and he's going to make an impact right away. I don't think a transition to NHL is going to bother him. I think it's going to only continue to show he is a star-studded player and will be an asset at the NHL level. So, this just a remarkable player, and someone who, as a result, has been highly noticed, highly spoken about. And that being said, we now move to the next player, and that is Cole Perfetti. So with that being said, as we look at the player from the Saginaw Spirit, give me just a second as I pull up his stat sheets. He was drafted 10th overall by the Winnipeg Jets in the 2020 NHL draft. So, native of Whitby, Ontario, he joined the Ontario Hockey League from the OJHL in 2018-19, and in doing so played 63 games where he scored 37 goals and 37 assists. So with such even numbers, this made for a total of 74 points. And in 2019-20, he significantly upped those points. So while he played 2 less games than 2018-19, he did again score 37 goals, and that made for 74 assists. So he did that for 111 points. So he's not much further behind Marco Rossi. Again, these are some of the top players in the OHL, hence why they were selected this year, not let alone the fact that they're draft eligibles, and thus were selected into the NHL. So something to keep in mind is, given these COVID times and the unlikely, or rather than saying unlikely, the not knowing of what training camp will look like. Will it happen? Don't know. A lot of ins and outs still, especially with the NHL season, rather than starting in January or December, as it was discussed, will now start in January. So that being said, a lot of these players are going to get the chance to start the season in the Ontario, or in the National Hockey League. He's likely to end up back in the Ontario Hockey League with Saginaw, but everyone is at least going to get a shot, from my understanding, to start out anyways. So, as a result, this is, a time for some of the top talents to be celebrated and recognized on the national stage, being the National Hockey League. Therefore, we move on, because there are just so many more. There's so many more. Um, Anyways, let's move on. A lot of these picks, first off, were between the Ontario Hockey League and the Western Hockey League, with a couple in the QMJHL, which we're going to continue to get into on a different end in just a little bit. So with that in mind, the next player I'm going to touch on, I think, is Tyson Forster. And Forster was selected 23rd overall by the Philadelphia Flyers. So I am going to start bouncing around a little bit, back and forth. But there's so many talents here, so it's hard to pick an order and do it that way when there's just so much to fill in here. Anyways, that to be said, like everyone else I've mentioned at this point, pretty much all of them have made the adjustment to the Ontario Hockey League from the OJHL. And while you look at people who haven't made significant progress, if any, while at the OJHL level, they come to the OHL, that changes. So their numbers, which are nothing, shoot up. So that being said, just so there's a kind of a clarity to transitions. If you look at the 2018-19 season with the Barrie Colts, Forster played 64 games where he scored 10 goals along with 13 assists, and this made for 23 points. And this was done under head coach Dale Hawerchuk, who we mourn the loss of. And again, this was a beautiful tribute as well to him, as I believe Dale Hawerchuk's wife was the one who made the announcement for this pick. Anyways, 2019-20 with the Barrie Colts, he played 62 games, 2 less than 2018-19. However, his numbers shot up. He scored 36 goals along with 44 assists, and that made for a total of 80 points. So he also had 53 penalty minutes this past season, and in 18-19 had 24. Someone else who can land in the box, and we're going to have to wait and see what he does in 2020-21 with the Barrie Colts whenever the Ontario Hockey League season gets along. Anyways, as we continue to go through draft players, because again, there are just so many of them that it's almost hard to keep track at this point. I think we are going to go to pick number 60. No, we're not going to go to pick 60. Actually, I'd like to start in the late 30s. So as a result, we look at Ryan O'Rourke now from the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. Ryan O'Rourke is, again, one of the top players in the league, and to no surprise, especially for everyone who follows him, he was selected 39th overall and joins Marco Rossi with the Minnesota Wild. So that being said, if you look at his first year with the team in 2018-19, he played 62 games and scored 8 goals, where he also added 14 assists to that for 22 points. Now, he also played for Canada Black U17, and in doing so added another 5 games and 3 goals for 3 assists and 6 points. Now, let's move along to his second year, because this is where things start to get really, really interesting. And while I didn't follow the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds so closely, there are people who did. One of my own writers at the Puck Authority, Pete Florio, is a good follow on Twitter for that. Anyways, that being said, we look at, again, his 2019-20 season, where O'Rourke was named captain of the team in just his second season in Major Junior. So that tells you a little bit about, his character, because it's not everything just on the ice that matters. It's his off the ice persona as well. That said, he played 54 games in 19-20, and in doing so scored 7 goals and 30 assists, which made for a total of 37 points. He also had 79 penalty minutes. So as you see a shoot up in penalty minutes here from other players, that begs the question, why am I getting a player like this? Well, part of this process is interviewing the players and getting to know them. And so who they are as people is, significantly important. Yes, he's an impact player, but that's not the only reason why he joins the Minnesota Wild via the draft. Anyways, as such, we are going to move along to pick number 42, and that is where we find from the London Knights, Luke Evangelista. Now, this was a player who certainly got picked, I think, a little later than I would have seen seen that happening. But nonetheless, the native of Oakville was drafted by the Nashville Predators in round 2, again at 42nd overall. So at 18 years old, he just finished the 2019-20 season with 23 goals and 38 assists, which made for 61 points, and he did that in 62 games played. Now, his first year with the London Knights wasn't overly impressive. He played 27 games and scored 2 assists for 2 points. So that might have begged the question, through the sample size like that, what could have 2019-20 brought? And I mean, it certainly brought everything, because he really got to show through a full season his potential. There's there's a level of comfort and adjustment that comes with that. So take that as you will. But this was a player I was keeping my eye on throughout the evening. Or rather throughout the afternoon, as this took place the following day. That being said, I think that this is a good move for Nashville, and I think that adding another right winger, this is not going to hurt them. I think that was a substantial move on their part. So, all right, let's move to pick number 48, I think is what we're going to do now. And in doing that, we find Jen Mysick, who was drafted from the Hamilton Bulldogs to the Montreal Canadiens. So Mysick, there's a little bit of an interesting situation with him, and here's why. He spent a lot of time back home, playing with national teams and his hometown team, HC Litanov, in the Czech League. And he joined the Hamilton Bulldogs after spending 28 games in 2019-20 with them. So in doing so, he played 22 games with Hamilton, where he scored 15 goals and 10 assists, and that made for 25 points. Now, these numbers are significantly higher than he played back home, which begs the question, okay, so he came to North American ice and did better than he did back home. Interesting. As a result, this is a move that is almost certainly going to pay off for Montreal. And Marc Bergevin is a man of patience, not only when it comes to the draft, but with signings. And so, this was a move that, sure, I didn't see coming, but I think it's certainly going to be beneficial. And again, this was only Mysick's first year of major junior hockey. So something to be said there for what he was able to do. But he didn't just end the season there, because he also, after that, played with Team Czech Republic at the U18, at the U20 levels of international play and World Juniors teams. So if you look at 2019-20, with U18, he played 7 games where he scored 3 goals and 3 assists for 6 points. And then with the U20 team to follow, 5 games, 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points. Again, U20, 10 games, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. Anyways, so for 2021, just given the uncertain waters that we are in, it's unlikely that anyone overseas is going to be able to come and play North America in the Ontario Hockey League this season. And so as a result of that, teams have started to loan players to their hometown teams and leagues. Martin Chromiak from the Kingston Frontenacs is among them, and another one among them is Jen Mysick from the Hamilton Bulldogs. And so for 2021, he was loaned to HC Litanov, and they've already started to play, and he's played in 1 game with the organization. Anyways, so while keeping that afloat, we also have to remember that because of his national team experience, he wasn't going to just stick around there. He was also going to play with the national team. So as a result of that, he played 3 games so far with 1 goal and 3 assists, which made for a total of 4 points. Anyways, so we are going to move along now from pick 48, and that's where things are going to get a little more interesting as we start to delve into the early 60s. And again, a lot of these are top players regardless of their picks, and we have to remember that. I think that that sometimes gets forgotten. So, it's not anyone's fault. It's just kind of the lay of the land. Anyways, I am going to touch on the QMJHL players in just a bit, like I mentioned, but I do want to get the Ontario hockey players out of the way, given that this is the OHL experience on BarnBurner TV Network and Zingo TV Channel 250. So that being said, let's delve into the 60s range. And in doing so, we find Will Kyle, who was picked 60th overall by the New York Rangers. He played last year, I believe, with the Oshawa Generals. Or sorry, actually, the Windsor Spitfires, I believe, is the more accurate answer to that. And yes, that is in fact the truth. So that being said, let's delve into Kyle's stats. Anyways, that to be said, in 2018-19, he joined the organization, and in doing so, he played 63 games where he scored 26 goals and 15 assists, which made for a total of 41 points. Now, his penalty minutes that season were slightly to be of concern at 50. However, he managed to drop that to 37 in 2019-20. And this is where his numbers were pretty good. I wouldn't say that they were as great in some areas as others. 18-19, you look at goals where he scored 26 in 18-19, he scored 22 for less than 19-20. However, his points went up, or assists went up from 15 to 20. His points went up one from 41 to 42. I think he's going to fit in well with the New York Rangers, and in doing so joins Alexis Lafreniere, the top pick in this year's NHL draft. So as we move along, we look now at Donovan Sabrango from the Kitchener Rangers, a player I followed throughout the regular season, being at the Auden Kitchener, and he was obviously one of my favorite players on the team. I think that goes without saying. And if you look at some of the scouting reports that have been given on him, I think this kind of matches a lot of what I've seen and agree with, which is from Elite Prospects 2020 NHL Draft Guide. He's not afraid to use the center of the ice to effectively transition up ice. Sabrango was decisive, took the right angles, and won puck battles on defensive zone retrievals, and that he did. So, while he's defensively knowledgeable, let's take a look at what he can do on the offensive end. So he joined the Kitchener Rangers in 2018-19 after finishing in 17-18 in the CCHL with the Ottawa Junior Senators. Now, making his debut at the major junior level, he scored 7 goals in 62 games, along with 19 assists for 26 points. As he made the transition to Canada Black U17 to finish the season, he played 5 games and did not score a goal, but added 2 assists for 2 points. That also resulted in 4 penalty minutes in which he saw in the box. Anyways, let's move to 2019-20, where he played 56 games for the Kitchener Rangers, and doing so scored 6 goals, 1 less than 18-19, but his point totals went up from 19 to 24, and so did, or assist totals, that is, and his point totals went up as well, another 4 from 26 to 30. So I think that there's a lot to like in this player, as he ends up at 63rd overall to Detroit. This was in round 3 of the 2020 NHL draft. A solid move, and I think that this is going to pay dividends in the future. Obviously, he still has work to do, and I think he's aware of that, having spoken with Fox Sports since. But time will tell. But it's a starting point, and his pro career is all but gonna get started. So I do expect to see him back with the Kitchener Rangers, which houses a lot of NHL draft picks. But get ready to see it, because this is going to be a player who is going to be, outstanding, truthfully what I think. So that being said, we are going to move along. Anyways, so I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into the late 70s, just because, there's only so much that I have time for, and I do want to make sure that I'm touching on as many top players as I can. So as a result of that, we're now going to move to Daniel Gushin at 76 overall. Now, Gushin was set to join the Niagara Ice Dogs. He played in the USHL, so he now makes the move over to the Ontario Hockey League Major Junior. And so this is what you're getting in a player like that. So, all right. He played 2019-20 with the Muskegon Lumberjacks in the USHL. Apologies if I did not pronounce that properly. In doing so, he played 42 games where he scored 22 goals and 25 assists, and that made for 47 points. The year prior, in 18-19, he played 51 games where he scored 16 goals and 20 assists, which made for 36 points. So with these totals, it's no kidding that the Ontario Hockey League was interested in acquiring him via their draft to join the Niagara Ice Dogs, which he will in 2020-21. But the NHL has also been keeping an eye on this player. I think that there's something to be said for that. He's a tremendous talent, and he's proved that throughout his extensive now junior career. In a statement from the Elite Prospects Draft Guide, he says, he's a great, tenacious back checker who often almost functions as a third defenseman in transition at times. He takes smart routes to the puck on the forecheck, and he's surprisingly physical for someone. Sorry, one second, just because it seems that there might be an error here. He's surprisingly physical for someone his size. He sets up really well by faking a shot or a pass first, and then separates by accelerating inside his movements. Anyways, that being said, I'm excited to see what he does with the Niagara Ice Dogs this season, which will be a little bit of a different roster given that they lost Akil Thomas. Now completely. They traded him to the Peterborough Petes. They got Philip Tomasino from the Oshawa Generals. There's going to be that experience, and Lucian is going to add to that given his extensive career in junior hockey now. So at 76 overall by the San Jose Sharks in round 3, the right winger is going to fit in, I think, very well. So let's continue moving to pick number 84. It's goaltender Nico Dawes. He played for the Peterborough Petes, the Guelph Storm, that is. That being said, as I was actually just looking at Akil Thomas for a blank second there, let's move along to Doss, who played from 2017 to now with the Guelph Storm. So he played in the GTHL with the Toronto Marlboros prior to, and once he joined the Guelph Storm, he recorded a GAA of 4.06 and .880 save percentage in 14 games in his first year. Now, in his rookie season in 18-19, he played 20 games with the 3.25 GAA and a save percentage of .893. We move along to 2019-20, and in doing so, where he played 38 games with the team and put together a GAA of 2.48 and a .924 save percentage. I think he's so good, and he was actually set to play at the World Juniors before injury stalled that. I do think that this is going to be a player who is absolutely tremendous. I can't say enough good things about him from, the time that I've seen with him. Anyways, he's also had experience playing with Canada's U20 national team, and doing so, he played 2 games with a GAA of 5.83 and a save percentage of .840. So he is set to return to the Guelph Storm for the 2020-21 season, and will continue to show why he is a tremendous asset and someone to keep an eye on. That being said, we're going to move along from 84th, where he now joins the New Jersey Devils from 84. And I think with that, we are going to go to pick number 93. So pick number 93 is Quinton Byfield's teammate, Jack Thompson, from the Sudbury Wolves. So Jack Thompson, again, he got to play with one of the top talents in the 18-year-old that is Byfield. He's a native of Cortice, Ontario, and is an 18-year-old defenseman. So he was picked 93rd overall in round 3 by the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I think as a 6-foot defenseman, part of that is going to be using his height which is probably one of his best attributes, in addition to what he can do on the ice offensively. So that to be said, we look at the 2018-19 season where he played 52 games, where he scored 6 goals along with 10 assists for 16 points. Now, he also played with Canada's Red U17 team, but played 6 games and only added 6 penalty minutes. So, don't let that be a sample size by any means, because Thompson is talented, and I think his 2019-20 numbers with the Sudbury Wolves better, display that. So, that being said, he played 63 games, upping his totals from his first year. He scored 7 more goals at 13, added 9 more assists at 19, and then this made for a total of 32 points. So he also added 2 more penalty minutes from 18 to 20, and I think that Thompson is going to bode really well for a Tampa Bay Lightning squad who continues to bolster in really all areas from what I've seen so far. This is a team that, while they just won the Stanley Cup, they're looking for a repeat, and it's players like this who can help to make that difference. So, lots to be excited about, I think, in Thompson, who I've gone to see along with Byfield on only one occasion. So let's move along to pick number 98. And pick number 98 from the North Bay Battalion is Brandon Coe. Now, Brandon Coe actually wrote a really beautiful story on the Players Tribune recently, in tribute to his father. Just for anyone who missed that, I want to mention that before I even start. That being said, let's get into his numbers. So he joined the North Bay Battalion in 2017-18 after having played with the GTHL in the U15 and U16. And in his first year, he played 63 games with the battalion, scoring 10 goals and 13 assists for 23 points. Now, he also played with Canada Red that year to finish the season, and in doing so played 5 games, adding in 1 goal, 3 assists for 4 points. That also found him sitting in the box for 4 penalty minutes. Now, let's move along to 2018-19, his rookie season in the league. He played 65 games, upping his 17-18 total. He added 7 more goals from 10 to 17. He also added another couple goal assists in doing so with 20, and that made for a total of 37 points. So, I think right there that kind of speaks to certainly what he's capable of offensively, but if you thought that was good, there's more. So 2019-20 saw him play 60 games, which is down from any of the time that he spent with the organization so far. However, his totals did go up, where he scored 25 goals and 32 assists, which made for a total of 57 points. Anyways, as we continue to move along, we are now going to jump with time starting to be a losing factor. I think now to pick number 99. So pick number 99 is Dromer Pitlick from the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. So that to be said, let's kind of get into who he is. So Pitlick played at the CHL NHL game in Hamilton, and that was, I think a tribute to what he's displayed not only with the national teams back home in the Czech League, where he's played Czech 2, Czech 3, Czech 1, Czech U18, Czech U19. He's played at the international level for the World Juniors, among others. So we're going to start in 2018-19, where he played with HC Vitkovice U19. He then played with, as he continued to progress, to HC Vitkovice and HC Poruba, where he was landed on loan to the Czech 2 League. Anyways, after all of that, he managed to land in Canada playing with the Sioux Greyhounds in the OHL, and doing so played 26 games, where he scored 11 goals along with 8 assists. So that made for a total of 19 points, while also adding 18 penalty minutes. Now, we move along to 2019-20, where those totals were all up significantly. He went from 26 games to 56 games, and he scored 22 goals along with 28 assists, and that made for a total of 50 points. Now, his penalty minute rate went up from 18 to 36, but I don't think there's anything to be concerned about to that end. Again, we're seeing so much talent. I'm going to get, just a reminder, I'm going to get more analysis in the coming weeks on what we've seen and who we like more than others for what reasons. I do expect to have my colleague David Sis back on the show to help break this down, supposedly next week. But, you know, I'm just giving the basics today. And so with that said, we move along from that pick. And I think with that pick, we're going to go now to pick 123. So much like Evan Galista, we look at Antonio Stranges, who played with the London Knights. This was certainly a pick that went much later than I anticipated, by all means. And I think there was a lot of surprise here as he landed with the Dallas Stars at 123rd overall in round 4 of the draft. So before I get there, the Elite Prospects 2020 NHL Draft Guide says, captivation, frustration, and awe. 3 emotions that London Knights forward Antonio Stranges inspired, sometimes on the same shift. There's no disrupting that Stranges has some flashy skill. The Mohawk skating in 360-degree puck control with an arsenal of one-on-one moves. So if that doesn't tell you enough about what he brings to the table, hopefully this does. In 2018-19, he played 66 games with the team where he scored 13 goals and 21 assists, and that made for 34 points. In 2019-20, those numbers went up, where he, except for the games played where he played in 61. Totals wise, he managed to score 19 goals, ending with 21 assists again, and went from 34 points to 40. So this also saw him finishing with 16 penalty minutes, up 1 from 18-19. As such, we now move along from 123rd overall to 126th overall. So Ty Tullio from what I believe is the Oshawa Generals is another pick I'd like to put some attention to, from Lakeshore, Ontario. One of the best players who went, I think, at this point in the draft. So he played in the OJHL, the Mississauga Chargers, where he finished 17-18, and started 18-19 with the Generals, where he played 60 games, scoring 15 goals along with 27 assists for 42 points. Now, he finished this season playing with the Canada Black U17 team, and in doing so, played another 5 games with 1 assist for 1 point. Anyways, take that for what you will, but when you're playing a full season, your national team totals, if they're not great, don't really matter all that much. That being said, 2019-20, he was named to, after he was named to the Canada's Black U17 team, he played 2019-20 again with the Generals, this time playing 62 games, up 2 from 18-19, where he added in goals from 15 to 27, and went up from assists from 27 to 39. Now, point totals. He finished with 66, which is up from his 42 in 18-19. And I think as he returns to the team for 2020-21, we are going to see that that number go up. So anyways, as we kind of start to round out the show, we are going to touch now on pick 141, which is Isaac Phillips. Isaac Phillips played as well with the Sudbury Wolves alongside Jack Thompson and Quinton Byfield. That being said, let's get right into this. Isaac Thompson is a dual citizen who played with the Wolves. That being said, not that, just I think it's interesting, truthfully. He's Canadian and Jamaican, which is a nice mixture of culture, I think. Not that that's going to be impending on what he can do playing hockey, but just something that I thought was really interesting and to make note of before we get started. So as such, let's take a look now at the 19-year-old defenseman. So he's seen a lot of time playing with the very Colts U15, U16, U18 teams in the ETAHL. But after he finished his tenure with them from 2015-16 to 2016-17, he landed with the Stouffville Spirit in the OJHL, where he played 52 games for 3 goals and 8 assists and 11 points. Now, if you look at 2018-19, he joined the Sudbury Wolves in the Ontario Hockey League. In doing so, he went from the 52 games in the OJ to the OH, where he played 68 games with 3 goals and 11 assists for 14 points. Now, that also saw him record 54 penalty minutes in his first season, but in his second season, his rookie year, 2019-20 with the Wolves, that number did drop to 27. And while his game totals dropped from 68 to 63, he scored 9 goals and 17 assists for 26 points. Anyways, so I think that that's going to be, someone who, as he continues to develop in the Ontario Hockey League, could become a player of impact down the road. So, I've got no immediate concerns on the 6'3" defenseman. His height, much like others like Quinton Byfield, is certainly one of his strong attributes to, a hockey defenseman. So as such, we're going to move along just because I did lose out on a few players, and I want to make sure that, I get through everyone, as I did pretty much go in order from everyone who I've listed today, except for one. So for any of you who may have noticed that, my apologies. With 4 minutes left, I do want to make sure that I get to everyone. So much like Phillips, Jacob Perrault is a dual citizen. He was born in Montreal, Quebec, but also has American in his blood. So an 18-year-old right winger, he joins the Anaheim Ducks after having been drafted in round 1, 27th overall. So that to be said, Perrault joined the Sarnia Sting of the Ontario Hockey League in 2018-19, and right away he impressed. He played 63 games, scoring 30 goals and 25 assists for 55 total points, and his penalty minutes were up to 54. Now, that did drop in 2019-20, but before I get there, he played with Canada Red U17 team, where he played another 6 games to end 18-19 with 2 goals for 2 points and 6 penalty minutes. Now, in 2019-20, he had a plus-minus differential of minus 34, just for starters. But anyways, let's take a look at the rest of his stats, because truthfully, these are what matter. He played 57 games, down from his 63 in his first year. His rookie season did see him go up in goals, 9 more to 39. Also saw him jump 6 assists from 25 to 31, and saw his points go up as well. So that went up from 55 to 70, and I think that that's something to behold. He's also had experience in the playoffs. So as he continues to develop with the Sarnia Sting in the Ontario Hockey League, I think that this is a player who was picked early and with good reasoning to it. And he's described by the Elite Prospects 2020 NHL Draft Guide as a pure sniper with one of the best shots in this draft class. And while it goes on to say it's accurate, hard, and he can score from anywhere, his ability to catch and shoot pucks in stride when the passes aren't in the wheelhouse is a transferable skill that will serve him well. So I think that this is a really strong move by the team. They added another winger. He will play on the right wing as a right-handed shooter. And at 5'11", he's not as tall as others in the class, but is still tall. And so, while he's probably one of the smaller ones for that reason, I don't think height is going to interfere with any success that he has at the National Hockey League stage. So I'm not going to get into stats for anyone else, but I am going to touch on those who came from the WHL and QMJHL respectively. So that to be said, we're going to look at, just to round out, 13th overall was Seth Jarvis from the Portland Winterhawks. And from 16th overall, the Montreal Canadiens got Caden Caden Gooley from the Prince Albert Raiders. You see at 18th overall, Dawson Mercer from the QMJHL Chicoutimi Saguenayens to the New Jersey Devils. As we continue to move along at 19th overall, the New York Rangers selected Braden Schneider from the Brandon Wheat Kings. Again, following a trade between Calgary and Washington. 22nd overall, Hendrix Lapierre, who spent the season with the Chicoutimi Saguenayens in the QMJHL as well. So some other names, Connor Zari ended up going really late with the 24th pick to the Calgary Flames, and he was with the Kamloops Blazers of the WHL. And then just some notable other names include Justin Barron to the Colorado Avalanche, Jake Neighbors to the St. Louis Blues. You see Ridley Gregg to the Ottawa Senators. Then you see, for example, Maverick Bork to the Dallas Stars. And then last but not least, Ozzy Weisblatt to the San Jose Sharks from the Prince Albert Raiders. Anyways, that takes us to 2:25 p.m. Eastern time, and that's where my show concludes. So that being said, you can follow me on Twitter at Justin Levine HBS and BarnBurner Network on Twitter at BarnBurnerNet for more updates on the OHL as season details continue to come along. That being said, my name is Justin Levine, signing off.